Hey, Philly sports fans, happy Friday. Welcome to a special edition of Philly Pressbox Radio. To talk a little more about Sunday's Eagles-Cowboys matchup and to recap Thursday night's Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame inductions. I'm Jim Chesko, a.k.a. Chet, and I've covered that great event the past 3 years, and I was joined this time around by my Philly Pressbox Radio co-host, Bill Furman. There he is. Hey, Bill, how much fun was that event at Live Casino?
It was absolutely fantastic. Besides the great inductees that we're going to talk a lot about here in the next few minutes, it was a who's who in Philly sports. Old and young, great athletes, writers, all kinds of people. Many we knew from being on Philly Pressbox Radio with us before, but a bunch of guys we didn't know and got to meet, and it was really fun.
Yeah, it really was. And although this is a special kind of impromptu show, we're still going to give our sponsors a plug because we do appreciate them. That would be the Irish Rover Station House in Langhorne, PA, and Cavs Philly Tailgates. And, of course, our new network partner, the STT Sports Network. We love Phil Stiefel and company. So, Bill, every fall since 2004, the Philly Sports Hall of Fame has been inducting great players, coaches, and some broadcast journalists and other media folks who either did their thing in Philadelphia or grew up in this area but played elsewhere. They added 16 new members Thursday night. I do have that picture somewhere. There it is right there. Many of them were on hand. The 2004 class, including some folks no longer with us also, though, such as baseball legend Eddie Stanky and Philly-based boxer and trainer George Benton. Several guests, though, who, are still very much alive and in attendance for their inductions. Let me see if I can pull up one of those pictures. There we go. Names like, swimmer Brendan Hansen, women's basketball coach Cheryl Reeve, former St. Joe's great Jameer Nelson, Coach Paul Westhead, WIP radio legend Angelo Cataldi, who we just had on our show Wednesday. And, a couple of terrific Philadelphia Phillies, too, Chase Utley and Ryan Howard, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, so many people, Chet. I mean, you'd expect probably Chase and Ryan are going to be there, probably Jameer Nelson. But when you hear the stories of some of the others like George Benton and what he went through in his life and what he accomplished in his life as a boxer and a boxing trainer was really a great story. And so many more like that. Hope I get this right. Lurlin Jones, a lifer in helping the Philadelphia youth and through being a Philadelphia school teacher and so forth, got her in. Only 321 individuals, Chet, have ever been put into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame. It's pretty impressive.
And with your help, I got to interview a couple of the new inductees. We'll show you those chats in just a bit. But another great thing about this event is the number of past inductees and other Philly media folks who show up. So I slapped together this little collage of some of the folks that we were able to say hello to. The likes of Fran Dunphy, Sal Palantonio of ESPN, Tim Witherspoon, the boxer, Ray Dinger, of course, Phil's owner, John Middleton, and the great Speedy Morris. I know you were happy to say hello to Speedy, Bill.
Yeah, I mean, I can remember, I've told the story about working at the Palestra when I was about 14 years old. But one of the right back in that time, and I talked to Coach Morris about this. He was the coach at Roman Catholic High School at that time. And man, what a career that fella has put together.
Yeah, indeed. Great night. Great to see him there. He was not in the best of health, but he was there for, I guess, Cheryl Reeve, and probably got to say hello to Phil Martelli and some of the others who were also in attendance.
Yeah, the other thing I wanted to say about that is we'll get back to a little more to Speedy in a little bit, but Lou Nolan, Larry Boa, Dan Baker, Hoops Weiss, Mike Kern, many, many more. I mean, a true who's who of Philly sports.
Yeah, for sure. I was able to say hello to the legendary voice of the Eagles, Merrill Reese. Always good to see him. He's a past inductee, and he was there Thursday night to induct former Birds offensive tackle and later Merrill's color analyst, Stan Walters, who could not be there. Always fun to see Merrill. And the Watson brothers were there as well. We talked to Jimmy a bit, and we talked to Joe, who's always fun to talk to, and then took a triple selfie with Joe. We love that guy.
Yeah. Jimmy and Joe are great. They were there. just because they're Philadelphia sports junkies like the rest of us, but also Rod Brindamore was honored. Obviously, he couldn't be there because he's in season as the head coach of the Carolina Hurricanes, but Jimmy and Joe representing the Flyers, and just that they're Philly sports junkies and great guys.
And Leslie Goodell was there, surprisingly. Leslie, who, of course, worked for years at Comcast Sportsnet, but she covered the Phillies for many, many years. She's now living in Nashville, got engaged recently. Congrats to her. But always good to touch base with her. There's me and Leslie. There's you and Leslie. And as I said to her, when I think I have a pretty good life and I get out and about and I'm having a good time, I look at what Leslie does. She is all over the place.
Yeah, absolutely. And she shared a little bit of that with us, that she was just so tired she couldn't make another trip to see Taylor Swift in Indianapolis. That was interesting. But the other thing too, Chet, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, I think, Leslie is a board director of the Andy Talley Foundation. She's on the board. And yep. Coach Talley also got inducted last night. And so Leslie was there to represent him as well.
Yeah, great night all around. Hey, let's talk about a few of the inductees now. Bill, you made it a point to say hello to this guy. He's a swimmer. Why did you want to talk to him?
Well, he's a Delco guy to start with. And you know how us Delco guys are. Brendan Hansen from Haverford, went to Haverford High School. 6-time Olympic medalist. He won golds in 2004 in Athens, 2008 in Beijing, and 2012 London. That's a pretty good deal. 16-time All-American, 4-time national champion at Texas, and came from little old Havertown. So I certainly wanted to meet him, and he was certainly a great guy.
Another inductee was women's basketball coach Cheryl Reeve. And, man, what a resume this woman has. Played at LaSalle under the great Speedy Morris, whom we discussed. She is a 4-time WNBA championship coach, all with the Minnesota Lynx. And she guided Team USA to another gold medal in Paris just this past summer. And I got to tell you, I had no idea that Cheryl was from the area, from South Jersey, Washington Township in Gloucester County, to be precise.
Yeah, and she told a funny story that she played for Coach Speedy Morris, and it didn't take long for Speedy to tell her she needed to do something besides play basketball. Maybe she should coach it, which kind of set her career off, obviously in a positive path. Cheryl was great to hear as well.
Yeah. Other inductees included 85-year-old Paul Westhead. What a career he has had, including coaching LaSalle, the Lakers, and that great Loyola Marymount squad headed by Philly area's Bo Kimball and Hank Gathers. He looked good for 85, I'll tell you. Rod Brindamore, you mentioned, couldn't be there. He was busy with the Hurricanes beating up on those Pittsburgh Penguins. And legendary Villanova football coach Andy Talley, as you mentioned. Bill, you had a nice chat with Coach Talley.
Yeah, another great Havertown guy. It was a big night for Havertown, Pennsylvania. Coach Talley, a member of the College Football Hall of Fame, 257 total wins, 155 losses, 229 of those wins at Villanova. Obviously a fantastic football resume, Chet, but more importantly, we got to hear about the Andy Talley Bone Marrow Foundation. Man, didn't know anything about that. But they've reached out to over 250 college football programs that are now part of the foundation. And Krista, I believe her name is Krista Ross, along with Coach Talley, are the founders of that. And got to speak with Krista's parents, very proud parents as well, last night. That was neat. Of course, they're all friends with our pal, Kevin Riley. But it was great to talk to Coach Talley finally, to meet him. And like I say, the foundation is greater than the college football coaching career, and that's pretty good.
Yeah. Bill, a couple of interviews that I did. One of them, I put you to work, right?
Yeah, you did. You had me as your cameraman, and trying to work around a little noise. We had a little noise in our area, but I was your cameraman. You jumped in on quick notice and put in a couple great interviews.
Well, it was a little noisy there, and I spotted these two guys together. I just had to talk with them. We're talking about Jameer Nelson and the great Phil Martelli. Martelli, a past inductee. And Bill, I don't know what happened. You did a great job. It was not your fault. I worked on this freaking interview for the past couple of hours to try to get it to play on here. This is what I get whenever, no matter how I uploaded it and redid it. This is what I get when I tried to play it. Watch. That's it. It just goes there. It does not play.
We just have a still shot, huh?
Yeah, still shot. I hit the play button, the pause button. Nothing happens. And I tried it like 5 different ways. So, oh well. But I can tell you that, I asked Jameer about that great 2004 season, the run that they had. And Phil talked about Jameer, the man, about his upbringing, which is what made him so special. Phil told us, although he's retired, won't be in any more locker rooms anymore, he is doing some work for TV now, both Fox Sports and ESPN. In fact, he's doing a basketball game this weekend. So great to see those guys. Sorry the interview thing didn't work out. Not your fault. It was just weird.
We'll get through it. Maybe we'll get it straightened out and get it on the show on Wednesday. But, it was great. Phil Martelli, everybody pretty much knows him. And he is going to be broadcasting the Fordham game this week. But Jameer Nelson, great story from Chester High School, a great basketball tradition at Chester. Not the greatest place to grow up, but Jameer has come out of that. Graduated from St. Joe's, had a great NBA career, certainly deserving to be a Philly Hall of Famer. And you and I, neither one knew that he actually works for the Sixers now.
Yeah. How about that? Yeah. So that was pretty interesting. Wish I would have known that in advance. I would have asked him about it. And maybe the interview would have played. Who knew?
Right. Good deal, though. Good stuff. Hey, Chet, we all knew that Chase Utley was at some point going to be inducted into the Philly Sports Hall of Fame. And it was a no-brainer. But it was really cool for us to be part of that.
Yeah, it was. And what was also pretty cool was Dan Baker being there to introduce Chase in typical Dan Baker fashion.
Number 26, Philly's second baseman, Chase Utley.
Thank you, Dan. That was amazing. Yeah. First off, I'd like to thank this Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame for including me in this amazing group of athletes, difference makers, and obviously Angelo.
Yeah, Angelo. All these great athletes and difference makers. Angelo.
Yeah, Angelo.
Congrats to Chase Utley. It was a nice touch to have both Utley and Ryan Howard going in together. And I was able to snap this picture of the two of them at one point. I didn't get to talk to Chase, unfortunately, but I was real pleased to get this picture of them at least. And then to be able to snag the big piece for a brief interview. And regarding that, well, I started by asking the big piece, now that he's been out of the game for 8 years, what he misses most about baseball.
I still kind of stay around the game and do some different things like that. The physical aspect of the game, not missing that so much, but I think the biggest thing is probably just my teammates. The chemistry that you have with your teammates and going out there and battling like day in, day out, the grind, preparing for games, preparing for spring training, preparing for a season, those kind of things. But I live vicariously now through the guys that are playing the game.
And now you're going into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame with one of your teammates, Chase Utley. How cool is this?
Man, it's great. It's great. To be able to go from the things we did on the field to be able to go into the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame and what the city's been able to do for us and provide for us together is something pretty special.
Hey, Chet, those guys were great, and obviously the fans. Dan Baker also introduced Ryan the same way he did Chase. I thought it was interesting, though. Carlos Ruiz was put in last year ahead of Chase and Ryan. I was a little surprised at that.
Yeah, go figure. I don't remember exactly what year each of them retired. I know Utley played longer than Howard did, but I don't know. You just never know. And J-Roll was in also, I guess, 2 years ago?
A couple of years, yeah. Yep. Well, and I'm sure over the next 10, there's going to be more and more that are going to get in. And fortunately for us, we got to see two of the best, and it was a ton of fun.
And Bill, speaking of the Phillies, the Fanatic was there. And, I hate to be a snitch, but I got to report this guy. I caught the world's greatest mascot hitting the bar before the induction ceremony, and he looked like he was hitting it pretty hard. Full disclosure, you and I may have snuck in an adult beverage or two ourselves during the course of the night.
Yeah, I think we did.
Hey, do you remember who the final inductee of the night was?
Yeah, I tell you, Angelo Cataldi was saved till last. We had Angelo on the show just Wednesday night and talking about this again. And Angelo wanted to be booed. He wanted to be booed at his introduction. He wanted to be booed at the end. Well, I'll tell you this, Chet. Angelo's speech was not something to boo about. It was a great job by him talking about his entertainment career, essentially. And he took a shot at Chase and a shot at Ryan and a few of them along the way. But it was great. It was great. And he did a great job.
Yeah, it really was. And the big part of his speech was how the listeners of WIP have supported him over the years, and how they even helped Kenny from the Dirty 30, get a transplant thanks to their generosity and people, coming forward to volunteer. So that was pretty cool. Yeah. But speaking of Kenny was involved in the whole booing thing. And, here's how it started. There was some help from the guy who succeeded Angelo at WIP in the morning. That would be Joe DeCamera also. So here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame, our final inductee of the evening, Angelo Cataldi.
Thank you. You are too kind. Too kind. Really appreciate it. Is Donovan here? Oh, yeah, maybe not. A couple of things, guys. First of all, it should be pretty obvious by now that I don't belong here. This is my only Hall of Fame induction, and when the guy called me, I said, double check. Make sure, please, because I don't think so.
Oh, yeah, that was nice. One other thing, Bill, I wanted to mention, at the very start of the program, they also paid tribute to Pat Williams, who, died several months ago. Pat, of course, a legendary Philadelphia sports figure, worked with the Sixers and later on the Orlando Magic, of course. But he was also the MC for the first several years of the Philadelphia Sports Hall of Fame induction night. So that was nice. They paid tribute to Pat Williams.
It was, and they made it very clear that this whole thing 20 years ago doesn't get off the ground without Pat Williams buying in from day one. He saw the vision, and then he walked the walk to go with it. And basically made this whole, well, there are a lot of other people, but made it happen out in the public anyway.
Well, speaking of some of those other people, again, such a fun night. Kudos to everybody at the Philly Sports Hall of Fame, including Ken Avalon, Jack Avalon, Ruth Constantine. I had a nice chat with Ruth. And, of course, our pal Mike Conroy. Mike does a great job also. Terrific job by everybody in putting together another fantastic, sold-out Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
Yeah, I can't imagine, Chet, what they could have done to make it a better night. I mean, it was a good night all the way around, and the guests were great. The food and drink were great. The camaraderie was great. It was a big night.
Yeah, it was. Hey, speaking of big nights, there's a big football game on Sunday. Eagles, Cowboys. Any final thoughts, 48 hours or so before kickoff?
Well, people like to get nervous because the backup quarterback's playing. There's nothing to be nervous about this time. Go in, take care of business. The Cowboys are not very good. It's not, even when we say the Eagles are going to beat the Cowboys because we're Eagles fans, they're usually a decent ball club. They're not very good right now. They're banged up and they're just got too many holes. Eagles are going to win this big.
We mentioned Cooper Rush, the backup, 5-1 as a starter. And yeah, the Eagles did hand in that one loss, but he did beat the Eagles one time. Didn't play that great. He had like 102 yards passing or whatever. Cowboys had their running game going that day. But it can, maybe re-energize them a bit. who knows? But speaking of quarterbacks, there was some news today regarding the Eagles quarterback, Jalen Hurts, because they asked Nick Sirianni at today's press conference about Hurts getting that day of rest on Wednesday. He said, well, yeah, you want to give him a day of rest because of the ankle being a little sore. He said it was on the injury report, and they all noticed, the reporters, that no, it wasn't. It just said rest. Apparently, he's been bothered the last few weeks by something with his ankle. So that kind of snuck out with, Nick not realizing the whole situation.
Oh.
Nothing serious, probably. I mean, it sounds like he's good to go, certainly. But, keep an eye on the Jalen Hurts ankle.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting, too. I think this came out after our show Wednesday, or maybe it was Wednesday, where they were talking about the workload for Saquon Barkley and how they're trying to handle that. They're trying to lighten his load during practice. He's not practicing a lot, doing the walkthroughs and all that, but they're going to try to loosen his load during the week, have him ready for a game, and then when they can get him out during the games early, try to get him out. So the Eagles are aware that the workload is high at this point, and they're going to do everything they can to try to minimize that and still win football games.
Yeah, because not only, as you said, not only are they worried about this Sunday, they got the game next Thursday against Washington in Philadelphia, and the Commanders a half game ahead of the Eagles right now in the NFC East standing. So
right, and the Commanders,
one game at a time.
The Commanders have the Steelers and then the Eagles too. So they'll be banged up as well, like everybody is. It's midseason, everybody's banged up. Now it's it's a marathon, not a sprint. Stay healthy.
We both picked the Eagles. I picked the Steelers to beat Washington. Did you also pick the Steelers?
I did.
All right. Hope we're right.
I did. And one final comment from me on the NFL, not to do with the Phillies or the Eagles, but did you see the comments? Did you see any of the game last night when you got home, I guess, first of all?
I did not, actually. I totally forgot about it. I know it was a wild finish.
Well, Al Michaels made it pretty clear about the officiating.
Oh, yeah.
There were some very questionable calls all the way up on the 2-point conversion when Joe Burrow got hit in the head and down the face mask, pulled, and they ate the flag. And Al Michaels said, you know what? There's just too many games that are ending this way with the referees. And, usually they try to keep that stuff quiet and all that. Amazon played it out for everybody to hear, and Al Michaels let them have it. So be interesting to see what comes of that, if anything.
Wasn't it Joe Burrow who also got the face mask in the end zone a few weeks ago that wasn't called?
That was against the Chiefs.
Yeah, right.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah,
it's a Joe Burrow anti-thing.
Yeah, well, I didn't see the whole game, but apparently there were several other plays as well that all seemed to go against the Bengals, or it really doesn't matter who it's against. I don't think it's bad calls or bad calls. They got to stop it.
I'm with you. Hey, that's going to do it for this special Friday edition of Philly Pressbox Radio. We'll be back with a regular weekly show coming up this Wednesday evening, the 13th, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Our guest, Steve Lockman from the Commanders Gridiron podcast, ahead of that big Thursday night Commanders-Eagles battle. And former heavyweight boxing champion Tim Witherspoon. You got to meet him last night, Bill. Great dude. He's going to be on our show next Wednesday. We will see you then, everybody. Meantime, go Birds. Bill, any final words?
Go Birds.
All right.
Let's do the song. Come on. Come on. Here we go.